Namaste. This practice is celebrating Imbolc, the pagan festival, which happens on the 1st, sometimes the 2nd of February. And to the Celts, this was the start of spring. So I'm all for bringing the start of spring forward a little bit. So hey, let's celebrate that. And it's around the symbolism associated with it. So Imbolc means in the belly, like if you imagine the early stages of a pregnancy where things are just getting ready to grow. So it's when the earth, Mother Nature, is starting to prepare to start new growth of the cycle of the year. The name of the goddess of Imbolc is Brigid. Brigid has fiery red hair and this lovely green velvet cloak. The name Brigid is derived from the Celtic, meaning the high one, the exalted one, and she's linked to the ancient British goddess Brigantia, the old German name Burgund, and the Sanskrit word Brati, meaning high, which is a nickname of the Hindu goddess of the dawn, Ushas. I love the way all of these different cultures mix and merge these names and meanings. And the important bit for today is you'll see she's holding a cross, and this cross is made of reeds or rushes. Nowadays, it typically has 4 arms tied at the ends with a woven square in the middle. There is also a 3-limbed version, which has its roots in the pagan sun wheel. The main purpose of Brigid's cross is to protect a house, to drive away fire and hunger. Come to sitting comfortably. Allow your shoulders to relax, the palms resting on your knees or thighs. Closing the eyes and come inwards. Taking some nice, deep, slow breaths. Initially a Celtic pagan goddess, Brigid's story was adapted by the Catholic Church, and she's now also known as Saint Brigid, the patron saint of healers, of domesticated animals, of poets, of blacksmiths. She's related to lots of things and symbolises protection. So breathing into this idea of fullness, of potential growth, using the breath, inhaling, expanding, exhaling, relaxing and softening. Starting to drop the head, drop the chin a little on the exhale and lift the nose to the sky on the inhale. I want you to think about a seated cat-cow type movement. So rounding the back as you drop the head, arching the back as you lift the head, lift the heart as well. Rocking back and forth on the pelvis, so letting the hips float forward and back, tilting the pelvis, opening and closing the body alternately. Good stuff. And bringing that to stillness, come to all fours on your mat. And in our tabletop position, with hands under shoulders, knees under hips, I want us to take a few circles. So going from side, back, side, forwards, letting the elbows bend, the hips sway. Make this quite an organic movement, let the shoulders move, changing direction. We want to warm up the hips. We're going to be working the thigh muscles and the hip flexors today. Good stuff. And then coming to stillness. I want you to take out your right leg. So bring the knees a little bit closer and then take the right foot out behind you at hip height, toes pointing down to the ground. If you want to come onto forearms, if your wrists don't like taking the weight, that's absolutely fine. So nice big breath in here, and then engaging the core muscles on the exhale, draw the knee underneath, look towards it, rounding the spine. Lifting it back again, inhaling, exhale, drawing underneath towards you. One more time this side. Good. And this time, as you draw the knees towards you, I want you to thread the foot in front of the knee and around the side of your left leg. So you're crossing your legs and your knees are crossed in front of you. If that doesn't happen, you can bring yourself into a low lunge at the front, and then that might help slide the foot back. Okay, so you've got crossed legs, try and cross them as high up the thigh as you can do. We're going to inhale with the shoulders over the wrists, exhale, draw the hips back a little bit, feel if there's any stretch or movement in the hip flexors, and a couple more times, forward and back. Getting used to this idea of having the legs crossed, movement in the hips. Lovely. And then moving the knee as far forward as you can, unhook the leg and take the foot out to the side. So we're still in tabletop position, but now you've got the right leg extended out to the side, pushing into the flat of the right foot as best you can. Nice big inhale, exhale there. And I want you to turn yourself 90 degrees. So turn to your left, I think it's your left, and you should have the foot extended to the back of the mat. Your weight over your left knee. And if you feel stable, coming up to a high kneeling position. Great. And we're going to take gate pose from here. So inhale the arms out to the side. Exhale, dropping the right hand onto the extended leg. Reach the left fingers up into the sky, opening up the side of the body. You can look up at the hand or forwards or down. Nice big inhale there. Exhale, take that left hand all the way down, slowly to the floor, lifting the right fingers now up into the air. Breathing into the other side of the body. Lovely. And then I want you to inhale with the fingers extended, exhale, turn towards the front of your mat, bring the hands down to the mat, allow the knee, front knee to turn, and you should end up good with the right leg extended out behind you, resting on your left knee. Bring the knee down to the floor and we should be back in our original position. So bringing the knees a little closer together, it will help your balance. We're going to take the left foot out behind you, extending the left foot out behind. Get lovely length in the body here through the crown of the head and the back heel. Inhale there, exhale, draw the knee up underneath, looking towards it, rounding the back. And again, taking the left foot out behind, flexing the foot. Exhale, really engage the core muscles, use the back muscles, and trying to draw the knee forwards, maybe pointing the toes. Last time, extending out on the inhale. And this time, let the knee float forwards and see if you can hook that left foot around the front and down the side of the right leg. Again, if that doesn't happen, it might be worth coming up a little higher into this sort of low lunge position, and you've got some height and some room to do that. Inhale with shoulders over the wrists. Exhale, draw the hips back. Seeing if there's any sensation there. Some people might not feel anything at all if your hips are very flexible. Some people, there might be a tightness that we're just beginning to ease into. Lovely, good stuff. And then bringing the knee forwards again, taking the leg out to the side, stretching it out to the side, turning yourself around to the side of your mat, ready to rise up and prepare for gate pose on this side. So as best you can, flattening out that left foot. It might not want to go flat on the floor. You might be on the side of your foot and it might not want to be at right angles. So allow it to settle so that you feel stable. Inhale, take the arms out to the side. Exhale, this time, left hand onto left leg. Right hand reaches up to the sky. And breathing into the right side of the body. Inhale there. Exhale, over you come. Those right fingers touching the ground and the left fingers reaching up. So feeling that different expansion on each side. Inhaling, exhaling, turning towards the front of your mat, taking the weight on your hands, and you can come back to kneeling, or this time with that back foot tucked under, you can step back into plank pose. So you decide what's right for you. If you're in plank, we want shoulders over wrists, head, shoulders, hips, knees and ankles all in one line. Really engage the core and feel the power of pressing into your hands, pushing the mat away. If you want to bring the knees down, do, but see if you can keep the core muscles all around the tummy and the hips engaged. Nice big breaths here. And then everybody slowly lowering yourself down onto your tummy from wherever you are. Elbows coming back if you've got those arms on the floor, resting down. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders if they're not already there. And lifting the heart forward and the head up, gentle cobra. Engaging the glutes, the bum muscles, lowering down on the exhale. A couple more times like that. Good. Breathing in, breathing out. And when you're ready, pushing yourself up to kneeling, let the back round and easing the hips all the way back to child pose. Take a couple of resting breaths there. Lovely. And then rising back up again to kneeling. You're welcome to stay on the floor and repeat those movements, taking the foot out hip height on your knees, or we can do it now above the floor with downward facing dog. So maybe a little wriggle of the wrists, stretch out the fingers, and taking the hands a little bit in front of your shoulders. Tuck the back toes under, inhale to prepare, press into the hands, and slowly exhale the hips up into the air for your down dog. Walking out the legs, swaying the hips, feeling your way into this pose. If that doesn't feel good in your arms, your wrists, coming back down to kneeling and take puppy dog, where we keep the knees on the floor. You're finding that length in the spine. Good. And we're just going to move between either tabletop and half plank with the knees on the ground, or downward facing dog coming towards plank. So bringing the shoulders forward, the shoulders in line with the wrist, and then moving back again. So either down dog to plank or half plank to tabletop. Coming forwards and back. Seeing how much strength there is in the arms today. Just getting ready for our Brigid's cross pose a little later. And then when you're ready, tucking the toes walking the feet forward to the front of the mat, pressing down and hanging out in a forward fold for a couple of breaths. Let the head release, let the neck release. Arms can dangle or hold opposite elbows. And then pressing down deep, roots into the floor. Start rolling yourself back up, rolling the shoulders back to standing. Palms facing forward into Tadasana. Take a couple of nice, deep, slow breaths here. So this is the moment where if you've got a block, then it might be a good idea to have it and place it next to your left foot. If you want to come to a wall, if you know your balance isn't great, then have your left hand outstretched near a wall or a chair. And standing with our feet hip width apart, feeling nice and stable. We're going to move through a balance with lifting the knee and then either taking it across into an eagle pose, or you can come into tree pose if you would rather. So the block is there so that you can touch the toes down, or your choice, you can wrap the toes around the back of the foot. See what you prefer when you get there. Let's start with our hands on the hip. Take a gaze, a focal point as something that's not moving. Root down into that left foot to start with. Little bend in the left knee. And then slowly lift the knee forwards, flexing the foot. And you can stay here with nice, deep, slow breaths. You can bring the hands in front of the heart if you like. And your choice now. You can come to tree pose, taking that knee out to the side and the foot somewhere on the leg. Or you can bend that left knee and see if you can cross the legs nice and high up the thigh, wrapping the toe around the back of the calf. If that's not going to happen, maybe touching the right toes down onto your block. Seeing if you can feel strength in that standing leg. And breathe. Keeping the breath slow and even. Well done. If you want to lift the hands as we inhale, preparing to come out, you can. And exhale, bringing the foot and the hands downwards again, back into our starting posture, Tadasana. Take a couple of breaths there in the middle. If you found it useful, then moving the block over to the outside of your right foot, preparing for the balance on the other side. So nice, deep, slow breaths. Press down now into the right foot, little bend in the knee, lifting the left foot up and flexing the toes really engages the leg muscles. So hands can be on the hips. You could bring them to the heart space. What helps you balance? And then decide, looking at your fixed point will help keep your concentration. If you want to bend the standing leg and wrap that left leg around it, do you want to touch the toes onto the block, or do you want to come into tree pose? Breathe nice and deep and slow. Let the breath be your anchor. Feel grounded. Good. And then, like the awakening into spring, opening out the arms and lifting them if you want to at the end, and then coming back to the earth and taking a moment here. So nice, deep, slow breaths. And to awaken the energy, we're going to flow through a couple of rounds now of our sun salutations. So moving the block out of the way if you've been using it, coming to the front of your mat. And I very much encourage you to do your version of sun salutations. I'll talk you through a couple of options, but take it at your own rate. We'll meet together at the end with some nice deep breaths again. So don't worry if you go faster or slower than I am. On an inhale, we're going to lift the arms up to the sun. On the exhale, bowing down, touching the ground. The right foot steps back first of all into a lunge position. You can drop the back knee if you want to. And then pushing into the hands, step back to downward facing dog. From here, either coming to your knees for tabletop pose or float forward to plank. And then coming down to the floor, either child pose, down to 8-point pose where your chin, chest, knees, toes are touching. And then everybody flows through to their version of cobra. It could be a gentle, small cobra. It could be a high lift up, opening the heart. And then tucking the toes, either coming back through kneeling or directly into downward dog. It's going to be the right foot which comes forward. So you're reaching the right foot as best you can between the hands. Again, we'll end up in a lunge. Could be a low lunge with the back knee on the floor. And then pushing off with the back foot, coming into a forward fold. So you can always walk forward at this point if that didn't work out for you. Feet together for a challenge, feet hip width apart for stability, press down into the floor and roll up or rise up. See what feels good in your body, your back. Finish with an exhale with the hands coming in front of the heart. A couple of breaths, and then we'll do the other side. When you're ready, let it be an inhale, opening up, reaching to the sky. Exhale, bows you down. Let the fingers touch the floor. Left foot is going to stride back into your lunge, whether it's a high or a low lunge. And then downward facing dog. Coming immediately to kneeling if that's not the right pose for you. And you choose, do you want to float forward to plank, half plank, or kneeling in tabletop pose? This will be a nice big inhale. The exhale takes you to the earth, whether that's child pose or 8-point pose. And then think about the inhale, lifting the heart forward, drawing the shoulder blades down and back into your cobra. Tucking the toes, coming back to kneeling and staying there, or onward to downward facing dog. Here's the bit where we make our way forward. So a little bend in the knees, and then think that left foot is coming forwards. If it doesn't get between the hands, drop the knee, help shuffle it forward in whichever way you want to. And then the right foot joins it. You can always do that in several steps if you don't want to do it in one big stride. Root down into the floor. Bend the knees to use the leg muscles to help you rise up on an inhale, drawing the tummy back to the spine, lifting the hands to the sun and bringing them back in front of the heart space. When you've completed that round of sun salutation, come back to Tadasana, open the arms out and breathe, closing the eyes or focusing down at the floor if that helps you to come inwards. Feel the prana, the energy, stirring, moving in your body. This is what nature is like. It's getting ready to launch into a creative, growing phase. Feel that potential energy inside you. And then take a turn to your left, to the side of your mat, in a nice big wide stride. Turning your right toes to the front of the mat, adjust your back foot so that we come into our warrior stance. So maybe the toes of the back foot pointing forwards a little bit and you feel stable. So just, you can walk out that front foot a little if you don't feel balance. We're going to take triangle pose. Inhale, opening out the arms, looking down that right arm, that right hand, and reach forward, forward, forward. And exhale down. The top hand can come to the hip or extend up into the air. And move and flow with this. So exhale, relax a little. Inhale, open out nice and wide. Reaching to the sky with the elbow or the fingertips, rolling this top shoulder back. Extend out through the crown of the head. It helps lift the lower rib cage. Press into the feet and imagine you could draw them towards each other. Does that make you feel more alive, more engaged with your triangle? And then press down to the feet, bend the front knee a little bit, and inhale and rise up. Lift the right hand to the sky, let the left hand drop onto the back leg. Straighten the front leg and you're in reverse triangle. Now this is our first pose that's replicating one of those Brigid crosses. You remember the three-limbed version. So you're reaching up to the sky and your legs are making the three-limbed version. This represents the wheel of life in the Celtic calendar. The flowing of the seasons was represented by this three-pronged symbol, the wheel of life. Take another big inhale here, and then exhale, bring the hands down to frame the front foot. Let that front knee bend. Turn the back toes as you come into your runner's lunge. And then you can step back, press into your hands, step back, either downward dog or taking a plank pose. Now, either come to kneeling and bring the right knee forward like we did at the beginning and take the right foot around the front of the left knee, or can you step your right foot across the left leg, crossing the thighs high. This is called Brigid's cross. This is a yoga pose, I promise. Pressing into the hands. It can also be done on the forearms, but we're crossing the leg, taking it out to the side. Breathing in here. It's a strong pose. And then unravel. So I want you to uncross the legs, drop down to kneeling on the floor, sink back into child pose. Good stuff. We're going to take that posture again and do Brigid's cross lying face down on the floor. So hopefully that last posture will have let you know whether it's best for you to do it from kneeling, maybe coming from downward dog, crossing the legs and coming to kneeling, or from plank pose, crossing the leg over. So everybody rise up to kneeling to start with. Either stay here, sweeping that right knee forwards and the foot around, coming to downward facing dog and cross the legs from there and dropping to the floor, or come into plank pose. Okay, so this is the traditional posture called Brigid's cross in yoga. From plank pose, we step the right foot across, and then everybody, I want you to do this slowly and carefully, lowering down to the ground. Knees come to the ground, chest comes down to the ground. Good. Now we're going to make Brigid's cross on the floor. Don't worry if you can't see me, I'll try and explain this. So we want to lift the left foot up a little higher to make a right angle between our legs as best you can. Imagine it's a right angle even if it's not. And then we're going to reach the left hand overhead, palm flat on the floor, arm outstretched. That's making the top of our cross. And we're going to reach the right hand out to our side. So the arms are at 90 degrees, the legs are at 90 degrees, and we're making our four-limbed cross here down on the floor. Breathe into this posture. Okay, we're going to stay here for a few breaths. Do come out of it if you need to. Come to laying on your tummy or crocodile pose, something restful. And I'll tell you the story of the cross. I'll tell half the story. So Brigid, Saint Brigid, was said to have been called to the bedside of a pagan chief. Some stories say this was her father, to his deathbed. And he was ranting and raving, and nobody could bring him any ease, even Brigid. But she picked up some rushes from the floor of the room. So they would have had rushes, straw on the floor in those days, and started weaving with it. And the chieftain was fascinated by this, asking her what she was doing. And we'll find out what she was up to on the other side. So I want you to slowly bring your hands under your shoulders, uncross your legs so that you're lying on your belly, and lift yourself up through cobra, coming to kneeling. If you want to go back to child for a moment, you can, or coming up to downward facing dog. Taking some breaths, walking out the legs, swaying the hips. Maybe sighing out through the mouth. And then walking the feet slowly forward into a forward fold. Coming to the front of your mat, pressing down into the feet, lifting up on the inhale. Little bend in the knees, supporting the back. Lifting the hands perhaps, coming back to Tadasana at the front of your mat. And then we're going to do all of that on the other side. So this time we're going to turn to your right. Nice big stride. It'll be the left toes that point to the front of the mat. The right toes tuck in a little, so you've got that sort of 30, 45 degree angle. Lovely. Preparing for triangle. Lifting the arms out, shoulder height, looking forward down that left arm, reaching forward, 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 then down, letting the hips sway back. Top hand either coming to your hip or lifting to the sky. Bottom hand might reach for a block, fingertips might touch the floor, or it could be anywhere on the shin, high or low on the shin, trying not to press into the leg. And then working here for the next few breaths. Think opening across the heart, as though you were trying to lay the body back on a pane of glass behind you, taking the head back, the crown of the head forward, extending out the neck, bending the front knee, maybe bending the top arm, feeling into this posture. And it's the inhale where you feel energized, expansion, beautiful. Ready to come up into your reverse triangle. A little bend in that front knee will help. Press into the floor. Lift the left fingertips to the sky and the right fingertips. Let them drop onto the leg behind you. Straighten the front leg. You can look up at the hand, straight ahead, or downwards to feel grounded. And breathe here. Again, making our three-limbed Brigid's cross. Celtic symbol, 3 prongs, thinking of that whirling wheel representing the seasons of the year, the never-ending cycle of nature. Inhale here, exhale, cartwheel the hands around, bring the hands down to frame the front foot, turn the back toes. Your choice now, press into the hands, stepping back to down dog, to plank, or to kneeling. So discover what's right for you. And you know the options now, so you can step the left foot through as best you can. Maybe you try and take it a little higher than before. Just easing into any stretch that you're feeling down that left leg. Good. Let's sink down to the floor, just rest for a moment. So uncrossing the legs, coming to child pose, thinking about whether you're going to take Brigid's cross from plank, whether you want to move into it from kneeling, how you want to approach it. And then everyone starting from a tabletop position, you can swing your left knee forward from here and come into your cross. You can tuck the toes and lift up, coming into your plank pose. Traditionally stretching the leg across, flex the toes of the left foot. How does that feel? Maybe that energizes even more. And slowly, slowly lowering yourself down onto the ground. So coming to the floor, easing your way. Chest coming onto the floor, forehead either onto the floor or hovering above it. Trying to find some comfort in the hips. As best you can, the torso is rotated down. The left leg is stretching out at 90 degrees or as near as you can get to it. The right leg stretching behind you. And then this time the right arm stretches up in front of you. The left arm stretches out to the side and you make your Brigid cross. Again, if you want to come to a resting pose instead of staying with this, that's fine. Otherwise, breathe into this, allowing yourself to come down more and more onto the floor. So as Brigid was weaving and the chieftain was asking her about what she was doing, she began to tell the story of the symbolism behind the cross, the stories of Christ and his teachings. And it is said that this great pagan Celtic chieftain converted to Catholicism there and then on his deathbed and was baptized before he died. So Saint Brigid, as she became, leading the way into cultural change with her Brigid's cross. Bring the hands underneath your shoulders, gently uncrossing the legs, laying on your belly. Little sway here from side to side. Lifting the heart forward, rolling the shoulder blades back into cobra. Slowly drawing the hips back. You can come back to child pose, to downward facing dog, or stay here in kneeling, swaying the hips. What feels right for you? Well done. And from here, we're going to ease ourselves down to the floor and come to lying on our backs. So we're not quite at relaxation yet, but bring with you any layers, socks, something to put under your head so that it's within reaching distance as you ease yourself down, laying on your mat, starting with the feet supported on the floor, the knees bent, and allow yourself to get comfortable here. So we're going to make our Brigid's cross, now facing up to the ceiling. Let's start with the more comfortable one, the three-limbed Brigid's cross, nice and simple. I'm going to inhale and lift the arms up towards the sky and continue that motion over the head. Let the hands land down on the floor behind you. As best you can, reaching the arms out straight. If that's not comfortable, let there be a little bend in the elbows. Let the arms come to the floor. And then we're going to stretch the legs out wide. So nice space between the feet, coming into this Y shape, our three-limbed Brigid's cross, flexing the feet, pointing the toes up to the sky. Nice big inhale and exhale. Good. Inhale here to finish. On the exhale, bring the hands back over towards the hips. Let the knees bend. Bring the knees up towards the chest and have a little hug in. Maybe a rock and a roll from side to side, hugging the knees if that feels nice to you. And then again, bring the feet to the floor, knees bent. Going to come into a twist. And lots of options here, how much your body is twisted and or extended. So I'm letting you be your guide. I'm going to try and talk you through this as best I can so that you don't need to crank your neck trying to look. So first of all, we're going to extend the right leg long. So stretching the foot out, making the right leg long, reaching towards the bottom of your mat. And then we're going to take the right hand to the outside of the left knee. So lifting the left foot off the floor now. And extending the left hand out to the side, palm face up, that's making the side of our cross. Inhale here. On the exhale, gently guide your knee over towards the right hand side, trying to keep your shoulders on the floor. Let your left foot find the floor, even if the knee is hovering up in the air. That's okay. You can shift your hips back a little bit. You can rest your knee on a block if you want to. You can stay here. If it's uncomfortable in the spine or the legs, bend both knees and come into our supine twist, how I often teach it. If you're okay with that right leg extended, maybe you want to extend the left foot out to the side as well, creating our Brigid's cross with the legs crossing as high up the thigh as you can, and imagining that the legs are at a right angle. And then to finish our cross, extend the right hand up over the head. So you've got the 4 directions, the 4 limbs of Brigid's cross, breathing in and out in your twist. Each exhale, seeing if the body can relax into this open position. Softening down towards the ground. One more big breath here. Inhaling, and then as you exhale, bend both knees, draw them up over the chest, roll onto your back. Again, have a little hug, a rock and roll if that feels nice. Then we'll prepare to come to the other side. Letting the feet drop to the floor. Shifting the hips so that shoulders, hips, feet start in line. Extending out the left leg now, nice and straight towards the bottom of your mat, keeping the toes pointing up to the sky to start with, flexing the foot. And then using the left hand, guide that onto the outside of the right knee, lifting the right foot off the floor. Reach your right hand out to the right hand side. Back of the hand on the floor, palm up towards the sky. Nice big inhale here. As you exhale, guide the right knee over to the left hand side, trying to keep the shoulders on the floor as best you can. And then you've got choices. So either making yourself comfortable in this position, staying here for the next few breaths, perhaps trying to extend the right leg out long, out to the side at right angles to the left leg to make the bottom part of your cross. Maybe reaching the right hand and arm up above the head. None of that feels comfortable. Bending both knees, letting the knees drop over to the left in your supine twist. Imagine yourself as green reeds, able to be woven, bent, twisted into shapes which represent healing and protection. Inhale into that thought. Exhale, see if you can soften a little more. Last big breath here. And then bending the knees, bringing them over the chest for a hug one more time. Maybe having the hands lightly resting on the kneecaps. You might want to circle the knees around to massage your hips, going one way, then the other way. And then it's up to you to come into your relaxation position. Perhaps it's Shavasana, straightening out the legs, letting the toes drop away from each other, turning the palms up to the sky, a little bit of space under the armpits, making yourself warm and cozy, perhaps dimming the lights. And if lying on your back is not comfortable, you could bend your knees. This eases the lumbar spine, coming into constructive rest with the knees resting together. Taking a few breaths in and out, letting the body relax. I'm going to talk you through a guided meditation. So you're welcome to stay here lying on the floor, or after a few nice deep slow inhale exhales, you might prefer to spend the rest of the meditation in a seated position. Deciding what's right for you, inviting your body to soften and release, closing the eyes gently, letting the tongue be soft in the mouth, the jaw relax, the shoulders drop away from your ears. Invite the body to be held, supported by the mat, the earth beneath you. Letting the breath lead you into relaxation. I want you to picture yourself, if you can, in rural Ireland, with the countryside rolling out in front of you, feeling a gentle breeze on your face. Picturing a small stone cottage nearby with outbuildings. And from one of these buildings comes the sound of a hammer on an anvil. Intrigued, you walk over to see a blacksmith, the fire glowing through the window. Knocking on the door, you hear a welcoming voice beckoning you inwards. Opening the door, you feel the warmth of the fire. Before you stands Brigid, the pagan goddess, with fiery red hair, pale skin, and a warm green velvet cloak. She beckons you to follow her, putting down the metalwork she's working with, moving out the back door of the blacksmith's into a beautiful garden where she leads you up a path towards an ancient stone well under an oak tree. Sitting under the giant oak, feeling its strength, you look down into your palm and see a small gold coin. Brigid invites you to make a wish, to set a healing intention for yourself. What is it that you would like to transform, to heal or uplift in your life? When you are ready, you toss the coin into the well, making your healing wish. Brigid draws up some water from the well and hands you a silver ladle to drink from. Cool, fresh water rolls over your tongue, pure and sweet. You can feel the energy of these restoring waters of life. Feel the water gently transforming you from the inside out, shifting your inner state to match the healing intention that you made for yourself. Energy of the healing waters spreading through every cell in your body, healing, nourishing, nurturing. You feel refreshed and revitalized. With a deep breath in and out, you look up to Brigid, who extends her hand, inviting you to stand and follow her back down the path. She pauses, turning towards you, and places a small cross made of reeds into your palm for protection and healing. Smiling and turning, she returns to the smithy, and the landscape around you slowly fades away. You begin to become aware once again of your physical body here on the floor. Breathing in, feeling the shape of your body, the form. Perhaps moving fingers and toes as you let the breath slowly awaken you from this meditation. Perhaps you wish to roll onto your side and rest there. If you're sitting, perhaps rolling your shoulders, stretching out your arms. Gradually bringing yourself to a seated position. Your hands in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra. And we'll finish the class by taking a lovely deep breath together. On the inhale, taking the hands out to the side and up above. On the exhale, bringing the hands down the center, back in front of the heart, taking a bow to yourself. Feel that you have renewed your connection to the healing powers of Mother Earth. May Brigid and Saint Brigid protect you. Namaste.